Hello, Dallas. Welcome to Youth Hour.
Hey, everybody.
I'm your host, Philmon Zarai, and this is
And
Alex as well.
That's right. Alex Emmanuel here. Born in D.C., went to school in Philly, now here in Dallas, ready to work. How you doing today, Philmon?
Pretty good. It's sunny outside. It's a great day in Dallas.
Yeah, actually, we've been having I don't know, this is my first sort of long-term amount of time in Dallas, and so the weather's just been unbelievably warm and just really amazing right now. Just coming from D.C., where, I'm talking to my mom. Actually, right now in D.C., it's actually not that bad, but usually around this time of year, it's freezing cold. There's inches of snow on the ground, and, I get upset when I'm here in Dallas and I hear people complaining about 1 centimeter of ice or snow and how the whole city's shut down. I'm like, come on, we're walking to school in 18 inches, man.
We're not used to this, This is something new to us.
Something new?
Yeah.
When was the first time you saw snow, Philmon?
Small. It was small inches of snow and everything is shut down.
When was the first time you saw snow?
I think it was like 8 years ago.
Oh, 8 years ago.
Just kidding. This is how it is in Texas. The weather changes every day.
And I heard we might have, for those of you who have been watching the news, I heard we might have one more polar vortex on the way. So we should be looking out for that as well.
Good stuff. So everybody noted last week foreign policy for Eritrea and Russia.
A major foreign policy event happening.
Yes, that was a big deal and very symbolic. For those who don't know, what happened was that our foreign minister, he made a visit to Moscow from February 16th to the 19th to visit Russia.
Along with Gavrab, right?
Yeah, it's just mostly like a huge envoy going. It was a huge diplomatic initiative by the government. So basically you had the foreign minister meeting with the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, and that was very symbolic. And he had a chance to talk to him about different aspect of regional, what is fighting terrorism or which is more like economic cooperation between Eritrea and Russia.
Absolutely. And not only economic cooperation, although I think that was the first chief priority, right, of any international agreement, has to be how are both countries going to become more prosperous by being friendly to each other. Economics was definitely the number one priority, but you also saw advancements through the improvement of bilateral relations in areas like education, promotion of culture, various other items. So there were actually quite a bit of items on the agenda, a full sort of packed 2 days worth of items to discuss. So
overall, I think moving forward, we're going to have corporations being released that they signed in Moscow. And this comes at a perfect time for us regionally as, we have situation in Egypt where the Russians are coming in funding Egypt military with $2 billion contract, which is pretty good for the region. I think so.
Absolutely.
And good for us. When you have somebody like General Sisi come up to a power, position in Cairo, it gives us a leverage and we have an ally. So him reaching out to Russia and visiting Putin, that was very symbolic for us and the region as well.
Right, and I think that we ought to be careful about who or what country we call an ally, right? So Eritrea is on friendly terms with Egypt, absolutely. But I think that Al-Sisi being such a new figure, there are obviously a lot of years to build in terms of their relationship. I think that the Eritrean-Egyptian relationship is one that at this point in time is more so built off of the geopolitical context, right? Of how Egypt relates to the Horn of Africa, but also, right, just an incredible history going back all the way towards sort of the beginnings of our independence movement, right? So if you look at one of the nascent independence movements in Eritrean history, the ELF, Eritrean Liberation Front, one of their first moments of creation was actually in Cairo.
True.
So Egypt has always been a friend towards Eritrea. Nasser was someone who was very friendly towards Eritrea, towards the people's struggle. And so I think you're seeing this very much a multi-generational dynamic at play when it comes to Egypt.
Well, I think the certain people like to make comparison with General Sisi and Nasser. I think it's too early to say that, but like you said, we definitely have a great historical connection with Egypt. And
absolutely.
I think this, in connection with the Russian news, foreign visit by our officials, it's great.
So what do you think is the significance then of the recent 2-day visit? Taking a step back here.
I think overall, when you look at the situation in East Africa right now, Russia is making moves. Its interest, it's mostly economics first, and then strategy second, just regional geopolitical interest. But they can come in and help help us with oil exploration, and also they can help us leverage the UN veto votes when there's like pressure coming in from the Americans trying to do another sanction on us. They can be they can help to veto any illegal, unjustified sanction against us. Also, I just read that Museveni of Uganda, he's looking to Russia as an ally because of the whole anti-gay bill that he's passing, and Obama is giving him pressure, and he's looking to Russia. I think that's just rhetoric for now, but that will be welcoming news for the region and us if he decides to reach out to Russia, and Russia can come in and be a neutral observer of the region.
Yeah, I think I broadly agree with your logic. It's just that I think that if you put the Ugandan U.S., and I'll come back to Eritrea and Russia in a minute, but I think if you put the Uganda-U.S. relationship in the larger context, the fact of the matter is that no matter how close Russia and Uganda get, Museveni and Putin get over this singular political issue, which I think we should probably observe it through that lens as a singular political issue. The truth is that the U.S. has an irremovable foothold in Uganda, right? It is one of the top nations as far as military relations for the United States in Africa. They have this huge military training program where they'll take literally leaders in the Ugandan army and in the armed forces and take them to like somewhere like Fort Leavenworth and other major military facilities in the U.S. and actually train them, right?
True.
We have obviously U.S. soldiers there right now still. They were supposed to, I think, go in to help neutralize the threat by Kony and the LRA, but obviously their mandate's going to allow them to stick around for much longer than that. So I definitely think that although Russia's inserting a stronger foothold, it's going up, I think, against nations like China and the U.S. who already have a very, very, very strong foothold on the continent.
I agree. I think it's going to take aggressive effort by Russia to come in to an area where the Americans and the Chinese are making a foothold, like you said. But overall, the trip, looking forward to more progress from the relations between these two nations. Maybe a visit by the president to Moscow meeting Putin.
Yeah, or vice versa would be great too. And I think that focusing back on sort of just like the bilateral dynamic there, it's so important for us to recognize the fact that Eritrea and Russia have had a pretty strong relationship in the past, right? If you want to look at recent history over the past few years, while at times I think they have sort of voted alongside the West in regards to sanctions, they've also at several points in this sort of long-term sanctions discussion at the UN level, they have used their power, their veto authority in the Security Council to push certain measures or prevent certain measures. So, for instance, a particular report on Eritrea that was going to come out last year, they pushed it back so it didn't get published because it was full of a lot of false information regarding Eritrea. And the same thing throughout the entire reporting of the Somalia-Eritrea monitoring. So I think that's something to take consideration. Additionally, you go all the way, even further back, right? We have few, maybe one or two blood ties in the form of Alexander Pushkin, right?
Oh, great point, yes.
And, when you think about that, especially in the context of the fact that culture and the promotion of culture was a topic of discussion at those talks, it's really important to know, too.
There's a statue of Pushkin in, is it Asmara or Massawa?
I think it's Asmara.
Asmara? Yeah, moving forward, Yamena Gabrab had an interview in Moscow with Russia Today and the Arabic version, and it was great overall when you think about him going against this show. Basically, it's a reflection of Arab views and opinion, and the interviewer was asking him all these questions about how does Eritrea have Iran military base, or does Eritrea has Israel military base? All these rumors that people you hear in the Arab world, he asked them, and the Yamena Gabrab answered, in a correct way, and he said that we have no presence of Israeli or Iranian military bases. This is ridiculous. Two opposing forces cannot have military base at the same time. And other topics they talked about was the Eritrean refugee in Sudan, and there's a large Eritrean refugee, and how many are there, and all these rumors he dispelled basically.
And I think going back to an earlier point you made, I think it was the last week or 2 weeks ago on Operation Funkel. It's I think our terminology, we have to be very careful about our terminology here, right? Because we know that the situation involves both migrants and refugees coming out of the Horn of Africa.
True.
Right? And, while the West, for certain reasons, may impose the term refugee on everybody for certain political interests, we have to also be aware of the fact that many of our people are leaving to pursue just a better economic lifestyle in the West.
I agree. before we move on, I'll actually just have to say that we have to be cautiously optimistic about the Russian and Eritrean relations. As when you look at what they're doing with Iran and Syria, you have to put in they're thinking about their interests. So overall, we should welcome this news, but be cautious that they have their own interest, and for whatever it is, it could be a win-win for us.
So as far as upcoming events, want to bring this out quickly. Obviously, Women's Day is fast approaching. It is an international holiday. It is recognized by the United Nations. It is celebrated in many countries around the world. But we Eritreans, this holiday is of very particular importance to us, right? Just given the tremendous role that women played in our armed struggle, that they've always played in our society, and that they continue to play in the development of Eritrea. So obviously, Women's Day, Eritrean Women's Day, it is coming soon. March 8th is the official holiday, but there are celebrations literally in dozens of Eritrean communities all around the world. We have celebrations happening across Germany and Europe, in places like Dusseldorf and Cologne. We have celebrations in Canada, in Vancouver, and coming back to the States, obviously, all across the country, in LA, in Portland, Oregon, it's DC, Philadelphia, a whole range of cities. Oakland and the Bay Area have their big celebration. They're bringing out Salam Band from Seattle on March 8th. So, big ups to them for bringing them out. DC's bringing out the classic artists like Wende Mbaye, Mahari, Dasha Mesgina, Saba Mokonen, Tekli, Dawit. So look out for that. Philadelphia has their annual Women's Day celebration that's happening as well. I think the artists that information is upcoming, so look out for that. But of course, and I tend to bring in sort of the East Coast flavor to the show, right, Philmon? But
tell us Dallas.
Let me just pull this up real quick. So definitely, gotta give a big shout out to this town here, Dallas. The show is coming up Saturday, March 8th. It's at the Garland Convention and Reception Center.
Mm-hmm.
That is on, Centerville Road. That information is available on Dahai for our older listeners. For our younger listeners, you can just hashtag Dallas, hashtag Eritrea on Twitter, and you can find it there. I do want to read actually a quote from the flyer that the Dallas Hamadi have put together here. It says that a woman is the full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture, and transform. And I think that bears special significance for us as Eritreans, just given, again, the inspirational role that women play in our society.
I'm looking forward to the Women's Day in Dallas, show support, and I'm really happy that the younger generation are picking up, taking over the women, association in Dallas, because, Dallas has a long history of being, in lead, and especially from 1986, it was like the first one to organize. So Dallas success with the Women Association needs to be documented, in my opinion. Somebody needs to tell the story.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to Moses Habtezghi, comedian and poet, to talk about entertainment and just his experience in Dallas, overall being an Eritrean and his success outside the community, we're going to play Awet Teamu from Boston. She's a comedian. It's pretty funny. So
Hold on. I got to stop you there.
Awet
Teamu.
Teamu, yeah, right. Sorry. We're going to play it, and then after that, we're going to have Moses come in, and we're going to discuss all the topics I just mentioned. Okay.
I come from Eritrea, which is in East Africa. Don't worry, I know you guys have no idea what it is. But if you'd like to know, just go over to, LAX, the parking structure. Those people that say, $8, please, $8. That's us. Those are my people. Some of them, even my cousins. So. I'm just playing. I don't really talk like that. But I know. But I didn't completely fool you. I was born there, okay? I was born there, but I came here when I was 5, okay? I'm very Americanized, when I came here though, I did have that accent, you know what I mean? I just introduced you to my mother, by the way. So when I came, it was just like, I'm here, I'm finally here. They were like, what is that? Like, what's what's going on, little girl? Like, where are you from? You know what I mean? And I was like, Eritrea. They were like, well, where is it on the map? Like, it's not on the map. Because we actually had a war against Ethiopia for 30 years, and it wasn't on the map. So it was. We only recently won. We've only been on the map for the past 20 years. So give it up for Eritrea. But I know, but only in Africa could there be a war for 30 years and no one knows about it. Like, what's, you know what I mean? We had to try to start a rumor, you know what I mean? Like, to at least get in the tabloids, you know? We're really the Na'vi from Avatar, no. Yeah, we're fond of arrows. No. All right, but I'm like a typical, East African mom, and actually most of us are, like, listen, Eritreans really do rule the parking lots. All across the United States, we rule the parking lots. Like the Indians, they have the 7-Elevens, we have the parking lots. You know what I mean? And all of this is discussed overseas, trust me. Like, we all, like, how are we going to make money in America? Like, parking lot, you have a party, park in our parking lot, but normally though, I mean, we're usually very smart. We're mostly like doctors and engineers, So when I told my mom I was going to become a comic, she was like, Awet, if you become a comedian, I will cut off my legs. I was like, what? And I was like, I will live miserable for the rest of my life. And I'm like, okay, first of all, what is up with Africans always cutting off body parts? Okay? We're in the States now, Mom, you just can't do that. Okay, but then I was just like, she's not gonna. So I decided to test her. You know what I mean? So I started reaching for an acting book. You know what I mean? And then she had like, I turned around, she had a machete to her leg, and she's like, don't go any closer, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I'm like, good Lord. All right, well, just do me a favor. Can you just not cut off your arms? Because I still need you to co-sign a few things.
And that was Awet Habtezghi from Boston. She's an upcoming comedian. She has a lot of, interest right now on YouTube, everywhere. She's very talented. Well, with that clip, you saw the last segment, Alex. What do you think? The whole idea of Eritrean trying to, be in entertainment or trying to gravitate toward being a comedian.
I mean, I think people should do whatever they want to do, right? God gives you talents, God gives you a purpose, and you have to pursue that, obviously, right? Yeah. There's this quote by Howard Thurman. He was a civil rights activist. He was like, don't ask the world where you'll be most effective. Do what makes you come alive, because the world needs more people who come alive, right? It's just a fact. People need to pursue their passion. But that being said, right, and before we even get into, quick introduction, right? Yeah. Moses Habtezghi, big ups to you, all the work you do here in Dallas.
Hello. Thank you for letting me come on the show.
You improve our ratings, man. Come on.
We'll see. But big ups to Awet, man. I thought that was very funny. Actually, I had seen heard some of her work before, but we need more people like her. We need more brave souls that venture out off the beaten path we've always known, and I respect people that do that.
Absolutely. So, jumping quickly, before we even get into your life story and everything, that video, the big dichotomy you see in our community is that, and I think it's representative of the big sort of culture gap that exists between the younger and the older generations. When you look at this video, for instance, or even going back to the Gurgish video, we see it one way. We're greatly amused by it. We're laughing. Those in our parents' generation, at least when I saw the initial reaction to the Gurgish video, was a combination of some people laughing it off, but others people saying it's disrespectful how they're mimicking our voice. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it goes both ways, and I think our people in general, we do have a great sense of humor, and it is just that it's just jokes, but in the same sense that we might make fun of our parents' voices, I definitely have been made fun of by my parents for my Tigrinya skills. Yeah. So it's all in good fun, and I think for the most part, I think people appreciate it, and people that fully understand what it means will appreciate it even more. And I say that because if guys like Gurgish or Awet or myself, whoever that might be, like I said, venturing off the beaten path, it just goes to show that we're we're a growing culture. We're advancing our culture, and we're not all just doctors and lawyers.
That's right. That's
We're
key.
multifaceted people. We can sing and dance with the best of them. We can sew you up. We can get you off court. We can do everything. We can fly planes, and just a testament to the variety of people that we really are. I think growing up, our folks had friends that were probably hilarious, right? But they just didn't have they weren't afforded the luxury of pursuing something like comedy or entertainment because we were in a struggle. We were in a conflict. It wasn't time for that. But I think everybody loves a good joke.
That comment you made about Dodgers and lawyers just now, I know that every one of our listeners below the age of 18 loves that comment just now.
Before we get deeper into the conversation, we have to introduce Moses Habtezghi. For those who don't know him, you've probably seen him at weddings, the local Dallas weddings, Houston. He's hosted
Atlanta.
he's hosted Hidri events, local events, but outside the community, he has his own band, the Collabs. He does comedy sketches. He does nightlife, different clubs out here in Dallas, especially even in Austin.
Yeah, that's where it started. That's where it started for me in Austin, Texas.
So can you just go over when you were young? How did it start? You know,
the earliest memory of me really getting in front of a bunch of people is really was a community event, and it was back when our community center we used this place off of Martin Luther King. Old school Dallas will remember. We were in the South Dallas, and we loved it. We had
the hood for
it was
non-Dallas.
Yeah, if you're not from Dallas,
early Dallas,
definitely the hood before they ever put a facelift on it, and
historic Dallas
before
basically.
They jazzed it up.
Yeah,
that's where we were. That's what we could afford as people, but we loved it because that's where we got together. Edita nights, in my earliest memories, were some of the best times. And they had some sort of fashion show or some program like that where my sisters were involved, and I did some old man impression that they liked. They ended up putting me in the show. They grayed up my hair, put some powder in my hair. I was in Kedan Habasha, and I did this old man impression. I didn't say a word. The whole thing might have lasted 30 seconds, maybe a minute at most. Just walked around the room and just got this large applause, like standing ovation, and I was in love. Wow. That applause just brought me to life. I was all of 6 years old in front of my whole community, and they appreciated what I did. And as small as a contribution as I made that night, it was just something that stayed with me. And I've always lit up in front of people.
So what was your basically? Who did you look up to as comedians and growing up? Or entertainer overall?
Yeah, growing up, it was a lot. I think when I think back, at that same time when I was a little kid, it was like Charlie Chaplin and Jerry Lewis, and we didn't have cable when I was a kid, so we watched all the old shows, the black and whites, and some of the same stuff that they were playing back home that comedians were getting inspired by. And namely, one of my biggest inspirations as far as Editon performers or comics was Woody Shaw.
Wow.
I was all about it. That's pretty much what my impressions were of the videotapes that my parents were showing me of the festivals, and before then of just the bodily, just like performing amidst all that conflict. They found time to gather and share the culture and comedy and the singing and the dancing, and that is universal language. And I think I always understood it to be that way, so it always stuck with me.
Can we just dwell for a second on the fact that some of your biggest influences were folks like Charlie Chaplin and Woody Shaw? Like that dichotomy to me is just very interesting. Big influences on each other though,
Charlie
right?
Chaplin.
I think Woody Shaw borrowed from Chaplin, and just like Chaplin probably borrowed from some guys before him. And those are like early on, but like everybody from those guys all the way to like Richard Pryor, like I said, Jerry Lewis. I was huge on Jerry Lewis when I was a kid too, to go into that. Just like it was a lot of older names, and I think I've always been able to dip back a couple eras or generations and take from that and go forward with it. And I continually try to do that. It's always about I say borrow, but co-opting, I guess, other styles. But the wheel can never be reinvented. We're merely just jazzing it up. Nothing I'm doing is incredibly new. Somebody did it before me. I just can articulate it to the people in the way they can understand it today.
Would you say all art is like that, as far as just kind of a constant sort of building on the past?
I definitely believe that. I know art is a universal language, and like I said, it's there is nothing new in art. It's merely different representations of just the same creative energy that flew through different people throughout civilization. Whether it was just hieroglyphics or architecture or music, I see art in everything, and I always known that to be like I said, it's a universal language. It does not die, does not go away, and it's a great way to move your culture and your people forward and get people accepting who you are and where you're from. I think that's really what it's always been about with me when I perform back then or now. It was being able to relate to people. You know, you get an applause, you understand that I just related to these. They will understand that they dig what I'm saying. They think the way I think. That's what I think artists, whatever your medium is, I think that's what all artists look to do. That's a constant. That doesn't change.
And so going back, maybe applying that logic to the Awit Ame video that we just saw, you know, when maybe a parent or someone who maybe looks at that and says, oh, they're disrespecting us, maybe a response to that then is the fact that, you know, we're introducing Eritrea as a concept to people who've never heard it before, just like you were saying now.
Yeah. What is the saying is about flattery being I'm terrible.
Oh, imitation is the sincere,
yes.
Yeah.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It's a very true statement because, like, that's how we should take it. If somebody's doing impressions of you and stuff, that means somebody took the time and they've been listening and paying attention. Now, you know, there's always a fine line if somebody feels bad when you're telling jokes about them, but it is just humor. And it goes back to what I say, the humor, the poetry, it's all the same. It's just entertainment. It's the reason why we smile when we wake up. It's not, you know, there's more to life than just living.
So going back to your experience as a child, like you grew up in Dallas, and in high school, were you involved in acts or dramas or anything like that?
Yeah, I think just from that very early on beginning with the community and being able to get in front and perform with them, as I got into school, I was always a part of plays or whatever it may be. I was in choirs and dancing, and I was always a part of that. I was always one of the featured performers. I feel like it came natural to me to get in front of people, and a big reason was because from a young age, I think my parents kind of paraded me in front of folks, but I like I said, I was never shy. It was something that I always was drawn to.
Yeah.
And so when opportunities like that came about in school, I jumped on them, and I think I excelled in them, and it allowed me to learn more about myself and understand that this was something. As the older I got, I realized this was something I'm good at that I believe I can contribute to. Because on the flip side of that, I was always good at school. I mean, it was never really hard. I feel like that goes back to my parents too. You know, they always had me studying and doing this and that, which all that I like. Can I tell you a quick story?
Go ahead.
All right, I might digress, but so before the internet, right? Before the internet.
Oh, Lord.
Okay,
Take
for
it
all
back.
you young bucks, was the World Book encyclopedias.
Oh,
What
yeah.
is that?
Yes. Before you could just Google stuff, if you were lucky enough, if your parents were like if you know what I'm saying, my folks, they put in a lot into education, so my dad went and bought all these handbooks and encyclopedias, and they would make me read them randomly and like do book reports and stuff. This was my summers, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
This was my summers. So I bring up the story because eventually I was reading the books when I wasn't told to, and when I didn't have to, because I got interested in all these random facts. Consequently, I always tell people I have this vast amount of knowledge that's only good for writing and trivia games. It's
I feel you.
it's
I feel you.
it's just really random. Like it goes back to Chaplin and Woody Shaw. I've always kind of been all over the board because I just like to soak up everything I can. And I tell the story about the World Book Encyclopedias is because my brain, I feel, is filled with all this good information, and I like to be able to dole it out to people because I think the people need it, and that's why.
Big ups to all the Eritrean youth who had to write book reports for their parents growing up.
Yeah.
That's actually a
During
big,
the summer.
big deal. Yeah.
Right? In the summertime.
Yeah.
When you had no class.
Yes,
So-
there was no school, but we were definitely in school, and I think the older you get, the more you actually appreciate what they did, because some kids probably, didn't have that, or just got to run wild and maybe aren't necessarily, doing what they could be doing. So it was a blessing. It was a blessing, not so much in disguise, actually.
So when you, as you grew confidence in your, craft, the drama and, whatever it is, you went to college. What sort of activities were you doing in college? And,
Well, initially I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and I majored in advertising, and it was kind of a compromise to be honest, because I was very creative and liked to write. That I felt like that was something I could do, but I still gravitated towards the theater and acting at the time is what I was doing a lot when I was coming out of high school. And I was writing. I had started writing to myself pretty much when I was in high school, but I wasn't getting on the mic and sharing it, and I didn't do that until I got to college, because if any of you that have been in higher learning understand how open those campuses can be and how conducive they can really be to a creative spirit like such as myself and many people, they end up finding themselves in those atmospheres.
The
Not
3
necessarily
a.m. discussions. And
yeah. You know what I'm saying? Something that starts as a study group, you end up digressing and discussing, humanity and stuff. And those discussions and just being in that environment gave me even more confidence, and the outlets that were open to me were just, I guess, it was a lot of chances I had to get on, and eventually I did it. And the first time, actually, it was a visit to Dallas the first time that I did spoken word in front of people, because I was writing in Austin, but it was a show on McKinney Avenue at the old Hard Rock.
Oh yeah.
They had a poetry slam, and this is like my first time like sharing. It wasn't like my first. I was used to being in front of people, but I had never shared my poetry, and I did it, and actually it went over really well. And it was just, after that I just started sharing all the time and realizing why wasn't I doing this? And also it was really an extension of the acting and all that. Just like I go back to art, because at the time I was in school, I didn't really have time to be trying to get in plays and things like that, and I had to get in front of people. So spoken word is what brought me back in front of the people.
Yeah, at that time, like spoken word was becoming popular. You heard like deaf poetry.
Yeah.
It was getting spotlight in the media, and people were really interested. And you came definitely in time for it. But overall, like, what inspiration did you have in the spoken words world? Like, who did you look up to, or is anybody, what was your inspiration?
Yeah, it's like I always get asked stuff like that when I tell people that I do spoken word. They're like, "Are you listening to Saul Williams or people like that?" And I have listened to them, but I think it's just being that I am a creator, I'm a writer. I'm always kind of I like say for instance Friday night I was at Heroes Lounge doing some spoken word, and there was a bunch of younger people, people that I'd never met before, and they were getting it and doing it. And that's actually where I draw inspiration from, is going to places like that and seeing young people get in front of audiences and relate to them and teach them. People, audiences that are filled with like older folks, 20 years older, 30 years older than you. And you have not only the guts and the gumption to get on that microphone, but also the knowledge to spread, and your message is heard. So I actually look up to those people more than I do the established folks. Like, if I was to really talk about established, I would go back to like when I was young, when I really got first introduced to poetry, like Langston Hughes or Emily Bronte, Emily Browning, Allan Poe. It's like all those classics that they were making us read in school, I was enjoying. I was really enjoying. And so, but I think my inspiration really comes from people doing it for the love. I think I can bring it now, but I never was as good as before someone ever paid me $1 to do it. When you're doing stuff for the love is when you're at its most purest form. And that's why I appreciate watching open mics and going to places like that and seeing other people perform.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned just now how you begin to see some young artists being able to sort of transfuse with their wisdom, right, and knowledge to the older cats. Mm-hmm. How do you see that happening sort of just like broadly? Is that sort of really a thing that happens, and does that happen? Do you feel that happening with the work that you do too, and sort of reaching out to new folks in the communities?
Oh, definitely. Like that night even, I reached out to a lot of those young performers, or when I hosted the Hidri show, I had to, I'm a fan. I might have been hosting the show, but I was literally just like everybody else. I was part of the audience. I definitely respected and appreciated what they brought to the floor. Mm-hmm. And I definitely go try to talk to whom I have the time to talk to, pull them to the side, and just let them know what's what. Because when I was their age, there wasn't necessarily anybody like myself or that you could kind of see that's doing some of those things that are outside of the box. And so I feel like it's we're in just totally new ground right now, you know.
How so?
Just going back to the fact that like we're a new country, obviously. We've been in the States, you know, 3 decades or so, but our culture is still growing, I think. And our culture is so beautiful and it's so strong that it's definitely can take our people places. And I see that happening when you alluded to the fact earlier, and then the comedian Awit said something about it, how, we are smart, we have doctors and lawyers and things like that, but we're not, that's not everybody. Some of us are going to write songs. Some of us are going to write poems that might inspire the next person that's going to get through whatever they need to get through, or the next leader might be, in the audience when I'm performing. Who knows? So I think of all that when I'm up there and when I'm talking to people. I definitely always have to talk to them after I get on, because that's part of it. It's not just I'm performing, I'm doing something I love to do, but like I said, it's always about relating. So after every show, there's always some of the best conversations, because people really open up to you then. They see what you do. It's funny because the conversations I had with people, like I use Friday night as an example because it's in my recent memory, but the conversations I had before I got on and after I got on were a little different. Whereas some people were hesitant to share, after I got on, people were opening up their hearts as to whatever was on their mind, because I had just related to them. And one of the first things I said when I get on the mic and when I go to like spoken word joints is that I'm cool with everybody in this room. I am now officially friends with all of you, even though we have never met, because you had the open-mindedness. You had that part of you that wanted to come through that door and pay your money to hear some truth. So if you came in the door, you're already cool with me. We're already on the same level. So the conversations I have after I perform are always some of the best, actually, wherever I go.
Going back to your earlier experience, do you see a growing acceptance of Eritrean going into entertainment? Our parents really want us to focus on academics and being an engineer, a doctor. Do you think there's a difference between how you came up now? There's more acceptance of Eritrean kids or you trying to get into that world? Definitely
a lot more acceptance. I think that goes into, like I said, we've been here a couple of decades, and then when we first got here, we were in a war for independence, so that came first and foremost. And going forward, I think our folks wanted, they're in a new strange land, and they were very adamant about keeping our culture and our identity and always knowing who you were, and that's understandably so. I can always respect that. And I think as we went along in time and after we won independence, and some of these younger parents, some of these other kids, some of the like not so much old school Dallas, like they breathed life into the city and to communities all across the nation and all across the world, because they have different experiences than my parents. I'm a little bit older than some of these kids, so they can I think they're a lot more I'm not going to say lenient, but I'm say understanding to their children and to the plight of what their children are probably going through, because they might have had to go through it a little bit themselves if they went to high school here or whatever it may be. Like and along the ways, I think my parents and people like that are coming in along as they see the talent that the kids have. As you come to the Hidri shows or wherever it may be, and you're like, wow, those are our kids up there doing that, and they're really good at it. Just to name a few local people, like over the last couple of years. Ralph, my boy Ralph. Definitely, Ralph was one of those pioneers. Like I feel like as myself, locally especially, we used to have the open mic here in Dallas when we first kind of moved back.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Raphael is a local. He's from Dallas. He does spoken words. He's the same as most.
He's extremely talented man. My oldest friend in the world. And Marie Firo, Mickey from that goes by the name of Lost. Noham, big name. So I'm just naming people around the city that are actually doing stuff right now.
Paulos
Firo, man, come on.
These
I
guys,
just saw him last night. Yeah.
For those listening, these guys are local people in Dallas who are doing different things, singers, comedians, and everything.
Yeah. Paulos is a local comedian, and I know that there's more of us out there. I know that, and I was touched on it earlier that it seems like regionally we know each other. Like I know my Dallas people, but we could do more about nationally hooking up. I think I definitely aspire to that. You said something about like the Salam Band out of Seattle. I met them in Atlanta. I hosted a wedding in Atlanta a couple months back, and man, those guys can bring it. Big shout outs to the Salam Band. But those are people that I look forward to maybe getting out to Seattle, getting out to the West Coast, and doing some more things. Had a show with Gurgish last year.
That was great. great.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Where
that was
this?
fun.
This
That
in
was
Dallas.
It was in
or-
Dallas at
Yeah.
the Sheba. I hosted. He came out, Sammy Montana.
It was a
from
packed
Oakland.
house. Yeah.
Packed house, great audience. Definitely had a good time, and I look forward to trying to reach out to more my out-of-town performers, more of my colleagues out in the nation. Hopefully, we can get down and get together on some things.
Okay, so for all the, and you just named the whole spectrum of artists just now, at all types, doing all types in all types of different fields, doing all
Yeah.
types of different work. In general, for like a lot of those artists you just named, where is the awareness level in terms of youth, in terms of maybe the older folks in our community,
As
or
far
even just
as-
like the broader sort of American market in general? Sort of like where's the awareness level of these artists? Like, you know, are they well known? Are they on the come up? Are the connections being made? Are we coming out? Are our youth coming out and supporting these guys?
I think the youth definitely come out and so we support our own as much as possible. I know that for a fact. I believe they're just like myself. We're all grinding right now, trying to get it. Like as far as when it comes to entertainment, it's success should be thought of as relative. It's not success isn't being a millionaire or being on the cover of magazines and television or internet. Success is relative to what it is you want to get out of it. Is
Absolutely.
it that you're trying to spread knowledge, or are you just trying to get on the cover of a magazine? Are you really about the artistry, or are you just trying to be famous? It's all relative to what you want, and that's how the artist should always consider it. Otherwise, you will just knock yourself in the head thinking about dollars. The more you think about dollars, the less you make sense.
Absolutely. Hope our listeners got the fun there. But no, you're absolutely right. It's about truth, and it's about presenting the truth as you
Yes.
see it, and presenting things that art in the form of creative talent that you can use to have people just enjoy their time for however long you've captured their attention.
So I understand you have, you want to speak, spit some poem for us today.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Just a moment.
He may or may not be whipping out a notebook right now, or is it off the dome? We don't know.
It's coming. Spoken words by Moses Habtezghi. You can catch him on Tuesdays on Crown and Harp.
Yeah, actually, while I'm searching for it, that's every Tuesday for the last several years. We were at Zubar on Lower Greenville, the collab band. It's a mix of people in other bands.
That's
We
your band?
Yeah,
Yeah.
singers, MCs, but always live, always free. That's our motto. And like I said, we were at Zubar for 6 years, jamming out, kind of an improv band, making up songs on the fly, really testing that creative juice, and hopefully just entertaining and educating at the same time. That's every Tuesday night. We're at the Prophet Bar in Deep Ellum on Good Latimer and Elm Street now. So that's where we
What were those two? Always free, always what?
always live,
Always
always,
live, always
free.
free.
That is our motto.
For you broke college students.
Yes.
I was one too.
Yes,
The Texas twang,
Oh, that's universal. I was broke in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this piece called Prophetic. I wrote this some time ago, and it's just it's what I consider the truth out of from my soul.
Nice.
Hear me now, Zion. I am a lion, I am a man. Soul to soul, I embody the spirit of the land. The ideal creation of a new nation, I lay my head in God's right hand. And I rest my knees in desert sands. Though my flesh may hurt, you'll hear not my pleas. For all I ask in return is St. Peter leave me the keys. And I would make a joyful noise for all eternity. And peace would be unto all I seek. For when I do find you, I shall remind you of his wealth. And for those who are ill, I shall restore your health. And for those who lack faith, I shall bring hope. And for the families who mourn, I shall help cope. And so as we stand together like strands of rope, the tie that binds will never break. Just as our Father's love will not succumb to fool's hate, and just as the spirited moon lights the night sky or high noon when the sun shines bright, I need not ask why, but I simply reply to you, thank you.
Wow.
I call that prophetic.
Touching.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
Sunday, so I had a little gospel in it. But that's the truth. That's how I see it. That's kind of just kind of how I live. It's like when I'm writing or performing, it's not about the dollar signs, man. It's like it's about getting out the right message, what I think is the right message, and I think that the audiences, at least the responses that I get, are usually extremely positive, and it keeps me going.
Before we go, what for the parents listening? What kind of advice would you give them if they have a child who's interested in the arts, and what kind of do you feel like they should give them encouragement?
Or to our young artists, just in general.
Yeah, just in general.
Well, I think I'll start out to all the parents out there who definitely want their children to be successes in life. Know that the arts are a tool to unlock more to your child's life and more in their brains and souls. And even I feel like even if they're going to be a doctor or an engineer, I think the arts will definitely make them that much more, I guess, just to have more variety of skills in the workforce today. Like say, for instance, I feel like if I was just like in the business world, I think I would do extremely well in the business world because of my ability to communicate. My ability to communicate comes from all the theater and all the training and things I've done over the course of my life has allowed me to be in my mind, an exceptional public speaker. And so in that just being able to communicate, that goes across the board. And just having a broader mindset, I think that allows you, when it comes to problem solving of all natures, I think that helps unlock your brain. And it I feel like it does contribute to all other aspects of your life, the art. It's not necessarily just about trying to be an artist, but it's about broadening your horizons. And I think as parents, the best things we can do for our children going forward is always never limiting them, always allowing all doors to be open, because you never know which door they're going to go through, and that door might be the key to their success. And for the young people out there that are aspiring to any forms of art, whether it be something that you really want to do for your living, or is it something that you just like to do as a hobby, whatever it is, explore that, go into that, delve into that, be able to say to yourself, if you're an artist, that this is what I love and this is what I want to do, but never close your mind to anything, whether it is the arts, whether it is math and sciences, they all coexist together, and it all makes you a better person when you embrace all of these things. You can only be successful when you let go of limitation. So don't ever limit yourself. And remember, one last thing in closing. Said it earlier, but I can't say it enough. Success is relative to you.
Wise words from Moses
Absolutely.
Habtezghi.
Thank you.
Any last words, Alex?
I was going to say the exact same thing you just said. No, I mean, I absolutely agree with you, man. I think it's important to stick to your truth, however it is you see it, and promote that. So totally agree with what you said. Couldn't say it better myself.
Well, thank you, Moses Habtezghi,
Thank
for
you.
coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Y'all doing a great job, by
Yeah.
the way, man. Hopefully I'll be able to come back.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna come back
kick it with
more
y'all
often.
some more. Yeah. Who knows? I might be your sideline reporter.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll
Live
we'll
on the scene.
We'll give you a promotion, man.
At the community event, live from the
Hey,
history.
who knows? Who knows?
Bring
man?
some more lyrics
and,
next time.
And big shout outs again to all the kids, teenagers, young adults from last week that performed
Absolutely.
at the Hidri event. That was my third year hosting it, and every year it's always fun for me, and I look forward to seeing some of those kids take over more leadership roles and take our community into the future. And I really respect everything they're doing for all of it.
From your lips to God's ears.
Great. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Youth Hour, on Twitter, Youth Hour, at Youth Hour Radio. Just thank you for your support. And
Do you have a handle you want to drop or anything?
I'll be back with all that.
I'll post
You
it
know what?
on
Yeah,
the
you can
Facebook.
post my
Yeah,
Twitter,
I'll
my
post it.
Facebook, all
Definitely.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could definitely follow me on Twitter if you can remember these cats here. That's my
However it's
moniker,
spelled.
man. I am just one of these cats here, just like you.
You'll get that info soon.
Well, thank you, everybody, and have a good afternoon.
Have a wonderful Sunday.
All right.